Well, welcome to our Keys program. We lost the electricity. No, I'm joking. Glad that you're here. Glad that you're here. And want to give our guest as much time as possible, so I'll save our particular Keys announcements until after he's done. And I'm sure that there are some that have come and weren't staying for lunch, but you're welcome to stay for lunch even if you weren't planning on it. Best lunch in town for $15. There's all kinds of sign-ups and they're out there, but let's get rolling, because I know that Sichan has a hard time stopping. And I want to give him enough time because these people are going to get hangry at noon. So our guest today is Sichan Siv. He really doesn't need an introduction unless you haven't been to First Press, if this is the first time. And I'm sure that many of our guests are here because he invited them personally. So you probably know who he is. He has just had an incredible life. He's had his fingers in so many different things, and we are privileged to call him our own. He was the ambassador to the United Nations. Now he's an ambassador for Jesus Christ, and he is here with us, and we get to see him and enjoy him regularly. Except when he's out traveling, and that happens often. I got to know Sichan a lot better when we spent a week in Chivak, Alaska, and it was just fun to spend time with him. And so, Sichan, we're glad that you're here. We're looking forward to what you have to share with us.
And we came back on the same day in time for dinner. Just amazing. The next flight that I would put on my memorable list would be the one in 1976 when I came to America as a refugee from Cambodia. That was June 4th, 1976. I arrived at this home, 1742 home, of Bob and Nancy Charles, my sponsor, and I had $2 in my pocket. I was sick and tired, but I full of hope. I was full of hope, and that was my mother told me when I was young. She told me no matter what happens, never give up hope. So hope kept me alive under the Khmer Rouge, brought me across the jungle of Cambodia and all the way to Connecticut, New York, Washington, and Texas. Another flight I would put on the list would be a flight to Iraq. I went to visit some of our sister churches. In the one on the right is in Baghdad. The one on the left is Basra. And I've been to Iraq once during the war, just shortly after the war started. I went there to see what happened there because I spent like 6 months after I arrived at the United Nations working on Afghanistan. And then the next segment was Iraq. So I said, I better go and see there on that. They said, you can come, but you cannot stay very long because the security is very, very strict. So I went there once. I spent like 36 hours, and then I left. That time I went to Basra. What is the other? I forgot. It blew up after I left. But anyway, Baghdad, and I returned. This one I went to Basra, to Baghdad, and to Kirkuk. Iraq has lost about 80% of its Christian population. So those that stay strong in their faith. So that would be on the list also. The next one, this is in Guatemala. October 2018, and I put it in there because it's connected to one of probably the most memorable flights in my life. In October 2018, I got a memo from Gene Becker, who was Chief of Staff to President Bush, post-White House until he died. Gene was the longest Chief of Staff, serving Chief of Staff. She wrote to 5 of us. She said that when the President died, you would be invited to fly on Air Force One to accompany his body. And I was really very antsy and anxious. I want to be on that flight, but I don't want to miss a chance to go to Guatemala to donate motorcycles to pastors in a remote village. This is a small village called Las Maravillas, which is in Spanish, the beautiful, right? The marvelous. So the team leader asked me to bless a motorcycle. And I have never blessed a motorcycle before, but I never met a microphone that I don't like. So I picked up the microphone, I told the pastor in Spanish, I said, may the good Lord fill your day with his spirit, your heart with love, your mind with service, and your body with strength, so that you can continue to serve him anywhere, anytime. So that's what I said. I came back from Guatemala, and President Bush was still alive, so I went to Washington for an event on November 30th. When I got to Washington, I learned that he passed away. So I turned around and fly to Houston. This is Air Force One, December 3rd, 2018. I was among a group of very distinguished people, George W. Bush and Laura Bush, James and Susan Baker, and all the grandchildren. I think Neil Bush was there. Neil was the only child beside George W., who was there too. And I look around all the way to the back of the plane. I was the only one who was not born in the United States. So it became quite emotional for me. I left the conference room where we were seated, and I came out in the hallway and I wrote a poem. And the poem reads like this: once we were 4 with a Christmas tree, then we were 3 by a shining sea. Now I'm alone but not lonely. For God is with us, with you and me. Soon we'll be together again, together forever through eternity. So 4, 3, 1. And as you know, because we talk about planes and fly, I want to also mention my interaction with the Air Force. I am a Lieutenant Colonel of the Civil Air Patrol, which is an auxiliary of the Air Force. It was founded on December 1st, 1941. And one of my colleagues, Donnell, is here. We fly together a lot. So I interact with the military all the time, but mostly in the Air Force. So this is Travis. Travis Air Force Base is near Sacramento. It's the largest air mobility command base in the United States. And this is where all the big planes are, the C-5, the C-17, the tankers. And I told the Air Force when I got the invitation, I said, I want to interact with the airmen. I want to worship with them. I want to eat with them. I want to go to the gym with them. I don't want just to go in and out. So he said, okay, you have here, you're going to be here for 3 days. And they gave me a plaque with 4 stars. And the wing commander said, you put this plaque on your car, you can park anywhere. Nobody is going to be able to ask you or ticket you. So I interacted with them, and it was quite an emotional visit. At that time, during COVID period, as you can see, all the commanders were wearing a face mask. We were sending 3 full loads, C-5 full loads. C-5 is the largest military aircraft, and we sent 3 full loads of COVID equipment to India. And that's another reflection of what America is all about. We are a compassionate society. We are doing all of this because we are just doing what is our duty to honor our country. So from the West Coast to the East Coast is Charleston, South Carolina. This is a C-17 base, and I met a lot of pilots who were involved later on, they were involved in the Afghanistan withdrawal, which when I saw what happened in Afghanistan on August 15, 2021, my heart sank because I was in an evacuation myself. I was in 1975 when I was told by the embassy to be at the embassy within 1 hour if I wanted to be airlifted out of Cambodia. Despite the flawlessness of the evacuation by the Ford administration, I missed the helicopter by 30 minutes. And that is because I had a meeting with the governor of province trying to feed some 3,000 refugees in an isolated province. So I came back, I was told that the last helicopter had taken off 30 minutes before. So when I saw what happened in Afghanistan, I was heartbroken because here we have top national security people, like the chairman of the Joint Chief. He said, we didn't know it was coming. The Secretary of Defense said, we have no way to reach the American citizen. And then the Secretary of State said, it was Saigon all over. But Saigon happened 2 weeks after Phnom Penh, after Cambodia. And then the President of the United States said it was an extraordinary success. If losing 13 military personnel was a success, I don't know what would you call a failure. Anyway, from there, that's just an anecdote. And then a trip to Zambia was another one of interesting story because Clint Buckley, you know Clint because Clint went to Alaska with us. Clint and I went to Zambia to donate motorcycle, and we flew from Chicago to Addis Ababa in Ethiopia because we were on a mission. We were seated in the back of the plane, which is the peasant class. This is a brand new 787. So I had 2 children sitting behind me, kicking and screaming for 15 hours. 15 hours, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't do anything, so I watched a movie. I watched Top Gun Maverick 5 times in different languages. By the time I got to Addis, I could finish the Tom Cruise line. So that was, this is in Lusaka. The pastor asked me to give a little testimony. After that, we went to Livingstone, which is in the south. You know, Dr. Livingstone, I presume. So that week, I found a street that has my name on it. It means something else, but it has Sichan. I was quite taken to find a street named after me in Livingstone, Zambia. So from Livingstone, Zambia, one week I went to Livingstone, Texas, the following week. Another one is Korea. I went there with Ron Skates. Ron and I are members of the World Reform Fellowship, which is a global Presbyterian organization. And we were hosted by some of the largest churches in Seoul. This is a beautiful church, and this one is called Sarang, which means love in Korean. This is the largest underground church in the world because they build underground. So they're right at the center of Seoul. They cannot build out, they build down. 75,000 members. 75,000 members. 150 pastors. Joe, I mean, you had to deal with 149 colleagues. 150 pastors, it's just amazing. On Sunday, 8,000 people go in, 8,000 people come out, and it moves like a clockwork. It's just so incredible. So here back home, we have the 41 and the 100. I think some of us remember we went with Joe on April 15, 2019. Lynn, you went on that trip to visit the Bush Library. So this year is the centennial of George H.W. Bush. So we had a reunion of all the people who worked for George Bush in College Station. And this is two interesting photos. The top one is in my office at the White House. We were having a meeting. And the bottom one is the reunion in June. You recognize me at the center with my black hair, right? And then you recognize me at the bottom with my hat. But the interesting about this photo is that behind Sherry on the wall, there is a computer, a desktop. This is a big desktop called Wang computer. And one day it had a problem, so GSA, the General Service Administration, sent an engineer to fix it. And I learned from her that she volunteered for the Civil Air Patrol. That's how I got connected. George Bush said any definition of a successful life must include service to others. And at the same time, I met that woman, and she told me about the Civil Air Patrol. So I joined, and I became a member since then. So 33 years member. The Civil Air Patrol spotted and destroyed German submarines in World War II. And they do all kinds of service, all the way to search and rescue, counter-drug, border patrol, all kinds of things. But this is the masterpiece of our presentation today. Some years ago, I went to attend the Air War College at Maxwell Air Force Base in Montgomery. And the national headquarters of the Civil Air Patrol is on the base. So I went to visit the headquarters, and the COO, the Chief Operation Officer, showed me the tour, or gave me a tour, and I saw this painting, and he told me the story of this plane, and I did not know that that was the one. We'll get to there in a moment. Then I forgot that early this year, I thought of something that I would do to honor George Bush, who was also a pilot. And you remember he was shot down in the Pacific on September 2nd, 1944. He was 20 years old. So this is the 80th anniversary of that incident. And he was rescued. He took off from the USS San Jacinto, and he was shot down after he completed 58 missions. He was rescued by the USS Sinbad. We all of us remember where we were on 9/11, right? So on 9/11, George Bush was in Sarasota. He was in a program called No Child Left Behind. And he was in a reading class with elementary school students. Then Andy Card, I had the honor to work with him twice at the White House. He was Deputy Chief of Staff under George H.W. Bush, and then he went on to be Secretary of Transportation. And he was chief of staff to George W. Bush at that time. He walked in and he whispered into Bush's ear, a second plane hit the second tower. America is under attack. Then he left. He didn't linger around for him to ask a question. President Bush composed himself and he listened to the children until the end. And then he came out and he announced that we are under attack. So they left immediately on Air Force One, and they were supposed to, he wanted to return to Washington, but it was not safe. So Dick Cheney and others told him, you cannot come to Washington. You're going to go to Barksdale. Barksdale is in Louisiana. Barksdale is a B-52 base in near Shreveport. So they flew to Shreveport, and that was the first time he made an address to the second address. The first address was in Sarasota, the second address was in Barksdale, and then from Barksdale they went to Offutt, which in Omaha, Nebraska, is another B-52 base. Then they went to Andrews. That's where that way he addressed the nation one last time. So I've inquired about that plane for Lima, and they told me that it's now in Connecticut. At the time, after the terrorist attack, it was in New York. And I said, I want to fly that plane, and they put me in touch with the regional commander of the region, Northeast region, which include all of New England, plus New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. It's a very big region, population-wise, almost as big as us, the Southwest region. He asked me, when do you want to come? I said, I usually go to Connecticut in June because that is the anniversary of my arrival in America as a free man. And he said, we make it happen. And then a few days later, he sent me a text message, can you come earlier? I said, when? He said, March 15, because this plane is going to go to a museum. I said, okay, I'll be there. When I got to Connecticut, the weather was so bad that one week, Joe, New England in time of year, in the fall, in the spring or late winter, and there was one window open on March 3rd, and that was the day. But before that, I went to Greenwich. To Greenwich, that's where, this is the church where George Bush worshiped when he was a child. It's an Episcopal church, 275 years old. This is their 275th anniversary. So they are 100 years older than us. And I went there to pray for him and his family. Then I went to Brainerd Airport. That is Hartford. If you know Connecticut, there are two airports in Hartford. Bradley, which is the big airport where all the commercial airlines are, and then Brainerd. Brainerd is in the south, Bradley is in the north. And this is for Lima, the famous plane that flew. So Major Prue, Brian Prue, is from the Connecticut wing, and we took off from Brainerd, and we flew over a number of places, including New Haven. As you may know, I landed in New Haven in 1976, and there I was landing at the same airport some 47 years later. So we flew over Connecticut, over Rhode Island, over New York, over Massachusetts, and of course to honor George Bush. I didn't make it to Vermont. It would be just a stretch. But for 3 hours, we were on 4th state. In Texas, for 3 hours, you were still in Texas. So this is an interesting place. It's a Groton submarine base. It's where the nuclear submarines are based. And 404 Lima was the first CAP aircraft to escort our submarine to the seas. So it has two distinctions, being the only plane that flew over ground zero, and the first plane to fly over to escort our submarines. On that flight, I carried a lot of things, including a Texas flag, which I made, as you saw in the previous slide. I made that flag in Hilltop, in Gatesville, on July 26, 2022, and I brought that flag with me. In my left arm is a doll that belonged to Martha. I think some of you have met Tattoo. Her name is Tattoo. And Joe, you met her a few times. So Tattoo went there with me. And when I came back, I went to College Station to give Andy Card a Coast Guard flag. Because when he was Secretary of Transportation, the Coast Guard is under transportation during the peacetime. But in wartime, it became part of the Defense Department. So he gave me a lot of beautiful thing also. And other thing I gave to the foundation, he's now the chairman of the Bush Foundation. It was a portrait of President Bush that he carried and a portrait of the family. So there we were reunited again in College Station. Do you remember when we landed Man on the Moon? You know the date? Anybody knows the date? July 20, 1969. Okay, you got a prize. Afterward, I have something for you. Yeah, 55 years ago, we landed Man on the Moon. So on that day, Donald and Chris Spratley and I flew to College Station. We were invited to speak at the Boy Scouts program. This is a program that President Bush himself started in 2007. And since then, I've been a speaker. If you know the Boy Scout, they have a badge called the World Citizenship Merit Badge. And that is the last badge they need to get before they become an Eagle. So I went to speak with them and try with them. But we flew that plane, not that plane, but we flew to College Station in honor of George Bush also. So now, last week, we met with Governor Abbott. He knew I had a Texas flag I wanted to give to him, so he asked me to go on September 11. But I couldn't because I had to be in Dayton, Ohio, to dedicate 4 Lima at the National Museum of the United States Air Force, which is the largest Air Force museum in the world. If you have not been it yet, you should this is larger than Smithsonian, like 10 times. And 4 Lima is now tucked under the wing of a B-36. And I talked to Chuck Beatty. You know Chuck Beatty? He was a pilot. He was in the crew of B-36. He told me that he had like 1,000 hours on B-36. So this is the flag that I sewed in. I didn't sew the whole flag. You know, I put the star and a few other things. And that one we gave it to Governor Abbott on Monday, last Monday, right, Donna? It was last Monday, yeah. And then we were showing off our boots. He saw my boots, and he said, look at my boots. So he has his own, so these are made of Texas boots. All right, and this is our group who were there. You had from left to right on front row that Eric Nichols is the chairman of the board that I serve on, the Texas Board of Criminal Justice. Next to Governor Abbott is Roger Reed. Sorry? Oh, okay, all right. Now you can. Okay, all right. Again, on the left front seat, Eric Nichols, chairman of the Texas Board of Criminal Justice. Sichan, your favorite deacon. Governor Abbott, our favorite governor. Roger Reed, the chief of staff of the Texas wing. At the back, Colonel Gullickson, he's the wing commander. And then you have the 3 women there. We call them the Golden Girls because they tell us what to do. You have Brittany. Brittany is like a master planner, just like Joe. I mean, she plans everything. And thanks to her that I was able to visit all 100 units last year. And I'm honored to be the first one in 175 years to be able to see 100 units. And next to Brittany is Jill Durst. She's our boss also. And Maite. And then Clint Buckley. You remember Clint? He went with us to Alaska. And then Donnell. Donnell is right there. All right, the next one is Blank. Oh, this is Martha. Oh, okay, we all say, you know, behind a good man is a great man. To me, beside a good man stands a great Texan librarian. Because Martha was a librarian. She's here from Pampa, Texas. And Bob Fuller, George W. Bush, and I, we had something in common. We all married up to Texan librarians. So Laura Bush went to the same school as Martha, to the UT School of Information. So God bless you and God bless America. And I am very pleased and honored and blessed to be with you today because I felt I was a stranger and you took me in. And I dedicate this presentation to Martha and the Bushes. Thank you. At the beginning, there was A, B, C, D, E, F, Sichan, Siv. Do you know what it stands for? Can you help me find what it stands for? I give you a clue. A stands for ambassador. D stands for deacon. So we had to find what is C and D and F, E and F. You can find that, you get another prize. A, ambassador. B, what B would be? How about brother? C. I'll go with cowboy. D would be deacon, right? E. Sorry? That can be one too. Eternity? I like that one. So F, I add F because Joe asked me about flying, so I said the flyer. A, B, C, D, E. We need to settle on E, right? All right, Joe, it's all yours.
We'll stay here just in case there's some questions.
Okay, good.
We have some time. I wonder if you have any questions. Been all over the world, all over the map today, and I'm amazed at when I think of Sichan, I think of where he's come from, how God has provided for him, and how he just keeps on going. He's like the Energizer Bunny, except I learned in Alaska that he does sleep.
You know, when you have 50 degrees during the day and 40 degrees at night, I miss Alaska this summer. I had a hat, say Alaska, whenever I felt so hot, I put that hat on. But one thing I want to tell about Joe is that because he is so full of wisdom, when we were in Alaska, we went shower. I did everything he asked me to do. He asked me to eat a banana, I ate a banana. Asked me to move the table, I moved the table, but he didn't ask me to take a nap, I took a nap anyway.
Any questions that you have?
Yes. What next? That's a good question. I will say what Ron Skates used to say, remember you go nowhere by accident. Wherever you go, God send you there. Where you are, God places you there. Is that good? All right, that's what I will do. Okay.
Questions?
Yes, Alan. It's very funny you ask that question because during the reunion we have something called Bush Trivia, and guess who won twice? And the simple question was that who is the Japanese prime minister that George Bush threw up on? In 1992, he threw up on the Japanese prime minister. He went to Australia, Singapore. I mean, it was non-stop. This is typical Bush. And then he played tennis with the crown prince, who later became emperor that afternoon. And then he went to dinner, and then he got sick. He threw up on the Prime Minister of Japan. And the story is that he later invited the Prime Minister to Houston to visit him. And he said, this time the dinner is on me. It's just a joke. But anyway, I got 2 prizes for all these questions. A lot of probably the most memorable one was when we announced he decided to launch forces to liberate Kuwait. He made an address to the nation from the Oval Office. And there's a picture of him wearing a raincoat in the Bush Library after that announcement. I remember that picture because he saw me walking through the colonnade, and he asked me, "Sichan, how are you doing?" And I was stunned, because this is a guy who just decided the fate of the world, and he had time to ask me how I was doing. Yeah, that's very typical of George Bush. Yeah. Yes. Any other question? Yes, sir. That's a very good question. This is a Cessna 172 Sierra. Yeah, it's a very old model. We are retiring all. Is that right, Donald? We are retiring all of these models, right? And the mission that I did, it was on March 3rd. It was the end of what they call the ICE mission. In Connecticut, the Connecticut wing has a lot of work with the Coast Guard. And so in the winter, there are little ice blocks that float on the river, so sometimes they hit the bridges and so on and so forth. And that was the last ice mission. And there was no ice on March 3rd anyway, but I was able to fly the Sound, and you need to be qualified for water survival to be in that mission, because the Sound, the Long Island Sound, you can fly about 4,500 feet. If the engine quit, you can glide to land either side, to the Connecticut side or to the Long Island side. But I encourage you to go and see the plane in Wright-Patterson, the museum. It's right there in what they call Cold War section. Yeah. Yes. Any other question? Yes. Hi, Lily. That's a very cool question. Did you all hear the question? What is the one advice that make you able to interact with a lot of cultures? And I learned from my French upbringing, they say, s'adapter et se faire adopter. Adapt to be adopted. And that's what I did when I arrived in America. And when I travel, I try to live locally, to eat local food, to do whatever the local food. And I'm blessed to have visited 140 countries and interacted with a lot of cultures, everything at every level of the society, from peasant to princess to prime minister to president. But everything has such a different, just approach everything gently. For example, we like to touch people's head, right? It's just like a sign of affection. But in Asia, you don't touch people's heads because the head is the most respectful part. And there was some horror story about tourists having picture around the Buddha image and so on and so forth. So just approach it very gently. In terms of safety, try not to be the first one on the street and not to be the last one on the street. And don't eat anything that you don't feel comfortable. The street food are really very good, but unless your stomach has been able to adapt, you may have some problem. That's why adapt to be adopted. Yes. Yes, sir. Favorite country or favorite trip?
Food.
Sorry? Favorite food is Tex-Mex. Barbecue. You can go wrong with barbecue. No, I mean, in all fairness, I may be in trouble in this, but I put French and Japanese at the top. French because I grew up in the French culture. I've been eating French food when I was a child. And Japanese food, it's really, really very good. You like fish, you are in heaven. Yeah, and there are a lot of Japanese food here. There is some here. You agree, Lynn? Yes? And whenever. Oh, where? There's a few sushi, something that starts with sushi, you cannot go wrong. Sushi Yama, yeah, or Northwest Military, yeah. Okay. Food, yes, you're scratching your nose. Remember you have a prize, okay? Okay. Yes, Armin. A very good question, Armin. The first time I never met George Bush. Our lives on a truck, have a parallel track. He was ambassador to China when I was in Cambodia, when I was trying to get out. So we were a few thousand miles apart and 2 time zones away. And then he became director of the CIA. He was director of the CIA only for 13 days when I jumped off that truck on February the 13th, 1976, to run across the jungle of Cambodia. And then he became vice president. It was not until '88 that I met him. When I walked in to work at the White House on February the 13th, 1989, that was exactly 13 years from the day I jumped off that truck. 13 years. And it was very emotional. Martha was still working in New York, so she came. She knew that it was going to be very emotional for me, so she came to spend a day with me. And she asked me, how was it? And I was speechless because I couldn't express how overwhelmed was it. I was running for my life 13 years earlier, and now I was sitting at the White House working for the President of the United States, seeing history taking shape in front of my eyes. It was quite emotional. I don't think there's many people who have experienced that kind of situation. And then under Bush, you remember, the world changed. The Cold War ended. Bush handled the Cold War very effectively without one shot being fired. Eastern Europe became free, the Soviet Union fell apart, Germany became united, and it was just one thing after another. And when we were at the College Station in June, we reminisced of how blessed we were to be able to work for a man named George H.W. Bush, he taught me not just about leadership, but how to be a complete person. How do you become a complete person? That is to care and to share, to love, to serve your community, your society, and your humanity. And I'm alone here, but after Martha passed, but I have my family here. Our church is my faith, my family, and my friends, all of you.
Thank you. It's a privilege to call you friend and brother. Let me give you some, let me let you in on a thing that we're working on. Sichan and I have talked about doing a remake of our trip to College Station. There are some new things to see in the Bush Museum. There's Marine One. Need to get in front of the camera. Thank you, Hank. Then they have some other additions. So we haven't set a date yet, but we will set a date when Sichan is available. We had a great time. It was a good trip. We filled the bus, and we're hoping we can do that again. And we felt like celebrities because Sichan was with us. And so we're working on that, and you'll just keep watching for the publicity on that. It's likely to be in April again. So that's something that's in the works. The table in the hallway has all of the programs for coming up in October. Can you believe that? October. Did I just say October? And make sure that you take a look at them. One thing that you probably have noticed, and I think I announced this before, Michelle is sitting in the back corner here, not because she's been bad, but because she's been very good. You were seeing just what she is doing and the improvements that she has made in just a couple of weeks that she's been with us. But on the email announcement of Keys events, there was an RSVP. Have you all seen that? If you respond to that, you don't have to sign up out in the hallway. I know that some of you have done both. What happens is that Michelle will transpose those responses to our sign-up lists for a while until maybe we don't need the sign-up lists anymore. But I think we can't depend on electronics all the time, because there are some folks that don't do electronic stuff. But that's one thing that has been new, and make sure that you take advantage of that when you're signing up for our Keys events. Mention a couple of prayer requests. One is Jim and Grace Klaus, which I think maybe they are live streaming at this point. They were visiting, attending their grandson's graduation from the Green Beret training and contracted COVID somewhere. And they didn't want to share that with us today. So we're thankful for them not sharing that with us, but pray for them. And then also Pat McClary, who was the director of this program for years. And I kind of came in on her coattails and had to fill her shoes, and it was very difficult trying to figure that out and learn my way. But her husband Dick died last week, and his service will be on Tuesday, October 1st, which will be his 90th birthday. And so we're excited. We're privileged to celebrate that on his birthday. Yes, it's difficult to lose someone that you loved and someone that you've been married to for so long, but Dick isn't lost. We know where he is. He's in the presence of his Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And so I had the privilege of officiating that service next Tuesday. So be in prayer for Pat as she's going through that. And some of you have gone through that yourselves. So pray for her. And now yes, sir. It is 11:30, I believe. So many things going in my head sometimes. I don't know that I always grab the right thing, but yes, it's 11:30, and it'll be in the sanctuary, and there'll be a reception following. So, and that information is out and about as well. Anything else I've forgotten? Yes, ma'am. I haven't seen Gretchen for maybe 2 weeks, but she's progressing. She's in rehab. She's gaining her speech back, but her movement is not coming as quickly. Last time I saw her, I was walking down the hall, and I noticed a woman sitting in a wheelchair, and I was ready to walk into her room, and I realized it was her. So she has very much improved from when she had her stroke, and she looks great and would enjoy visits. So if you're able to do that. And then I think the address is on Care and Concern and all that. You notice a new look for Care and Concern? Thank you, Michelle. So I really am excited about what God is going to be doing in Keys in this coming year. And looking forward to more meetings like this when we have a good number. I mean, we have a good number of older adults in this church, and some of them are boycotting Keys because they don't want to hang out with old people. Some of them may not be accessible anymore, but we're hoping to kind of get the pre-Keys folks that are here to admit that they are approaching that age, and I call them pre-K. And we're excited that you're here with us today too. So I hope that you have made arrangements for lunch. If you haven't, I'm pretty sure that we can accommodate others who haven't signed up. I think we have enough seats this week. We've been taken by surprise the last couple of weeks, but I think we have enough seats this week. So if you'd like to stay for lunch, Stanley will be back at the table to collect money. $15, best lunch in San Antonio for $15. Let me pray. Father, we're thankful for your hand in Sichan's life, even in the jungle. And as you watched over him to guide and direct him and bring him from those humble experiences to places of authority, places of influence. And thank you for him. Thank you for the opportunity that we have to interact with him on a almost daily basis. And thank you for the opportunities that you are giving him to make that transformation from ambassador to the United Nations to an ambassador for Jesus Christ. And we're thankful for him, and we're thankful for our time together with him. Pray that you would be with us for our lunch. We ask your blessing on the food that we will share together. Bless the hands that have prepared it and those that will serve it, and give us good, sweet fellowship around these tables. In Jesus' name, amen.